Hey Collective, welcome back. I hope you're having a good day today. So, have you ever had a gut feeling about someone, a situation, and your brain immediately started making a list of logical reasons why you were being paranoid? You talk yourself out of it. You rationalize. You tell yourself you're just being silly or overreacting, only to look back weeks, months, or even years later and realize your very first instinct was spot on. That sinking feeling of "I knew it" is more than just frustrating. It's the hidden harm of self-doubt. It's the poison that convinces you the voice of another is more reliable than your own. Today, let's talk about how your past experiences might have systematically trained you to ignore your own inner wisdom. And more importantly, I'll give you a clear, practical roadmap to start reclaiming that trust in yourself, starting today. Because learning how to trust your instincts isn't about becoming a psychic, it's about coming home to yourself. So where does this deep-seated self-doubt even come from? Why is it so easy to trust a charismatic stranger, but so hard to trust that quiet, persistent feeling inside? Well, it's not a personal failing. For most of us, this doubt is a learned behavior, a program installed so early in our lives we don't even remember it happening. It often starts in childhood. Think about it. As kids, survival literally depended on staying connected to our caregivers. When a child is upset or scared, and the adults around them say things like, "You're being too sensitive," or "There's nothing to be upset about," or "I don't want to hear it," a dangerous lesson is learned. The child's brain begins to register that their own internal signals, their gut feelings, are unreliable, and even worse, a threat to that connection. To keep the peace, they learn to suppress their own feelings. They learn that curiosity can lead to trouble, and that just going with the flow is much, much safer. This helps build what psychologists call self-schemas, the core beliefs or secret rules we have about ourselves. If you were repeatedly told your feelings were wrong as a kid, you likely developed a core belief that your emotions are untrustworthy. So now, as an adult, when you get a totally reasonable gut feeling, like a sense of unease on a date, a flicker of doubt about a perfect new job, your old programming kicks in. Instead of listening to the feeling, you ask, "What's wrong with me for feeling this?" This process is called self-gaslighting. It's when we dismiss our own emotions before anyone else gets the chance. And I hear it all day, every day. We tell ourselves, "I'm just being dramatic," or "It wasn't really that bad." This is a survival skill we learned as kids, but it's one that has long outlived its usefulness. On top of that, our brains have a few natural glitches that keep us trapped. There's the introspection illusion, which is the mistaken belief that we should always have a clear, logical reason for our feelings. When an intuitive hunch pops up without a neat explanation, we assume it's a flaw in our thinking. Then there's the illusion of asymmetric insight, a fancy term for the bias where we think we understand others better than they understand us, but also, and I've had this happen to me a lot, that they understand us better than we understand ourselves. This leads us to put everyone else's opinion on a pedestal, way above our own. And then there's the inner critic, the relentless voice in your head that judges and questions everything you do. And let's be clear, that voice is not yours. It's an internalized mashup of critical parents, harsh teachers, and societal pressures you've absorbed over a lifetime. The inner critic is a professional pessimist. It keeps a detailed file of every mistake you've ever made and uses it as evidence against you. It whispers things like, "Remember last time? You were wrong then, so you're probably wrong now. This constant negative chatter chips away at your self-esteem and makes it feel dangerous to trust yourself. Finally, our modern world just throws fuel on the fire. Social media just creates a constant comparison trap. We see everyone else's likes and views, their highlight reels, which only makes our own inner lives feel messy and unreliable by default. We've been trained to worship logic and hard data, often dismissing intuition as woo-woo. The result of all this? We become fundamentally disconnected from our own guidance system, constantly looking for answers everywhere but within. Living in a chronic state of self-doubt isn't just some minor personality quirk. It has a real corrosive effect on our lives. When you habitually ignore your intuition, you're not just making a few bad calls, you're living a life that isn't truly yours. You stay in the soul-crushing job because on paper, it's a good job. You stay in the relationship that makes you feel small because your logical brain says, but they're a good person. You say yes when you desperately want to say no because the fear of disappointing others is louder than your own needs. Every time you override that gut feeling, you create a tiny fracture in your relationship with yourself. Over time, those fractures add up, leaving you feeling lost, stuck, and deeply inauthentic. This internal tug of war creates enormous stress. That constant mental chatter, the monkey mind, swinging from one worry to the next, takes a biological toll. It keeps your body in a low-grade state of fight or flight, pumping out stress hormones like cortisol. This isn't just in your head. The gut is so sensitive to emotion that scientists call it the second brain. Stress signals from a worried mind can cause actual physical distress in your gut, and a troubled gut can send signals right back to the brain, creating a vicious cycle of anxiety and physical discomfort. Now here's where we need to make a crucial distinction, because this is a common trap. Not every strong feeling is your intuition. Anxiety, for instance, is loud. It's frantic and rooted in fear of the future. It screams in what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. Anger might push you to send a text you'll regret. Fear might tell you to run from a huge opportunity. Acting impulsively on these raw emotions often leads to a mess, which then just proves to your inner critic that your feelings can't be trusted. True intuition is different. It's usually quiet. It's a calm, steady knowing. It isn't loud or pushy. It's a gentle nudge from the present moment. Think of it as your brain's supercomputer, accessing a vast database of every experience you've ever had and every pattern you've ever noticed. Your intuition is your mind making lightning-fast connections that your conscious brain is too slow to process. It's not magic. It's just a highly advanced form of pattern recognition. The problem is, when our minds are filled with the screaming of anxiety and the judgments of the inner critic, we can't hear the whisper of intuition. The turning point comes when you realize the cost of living this way is just too high. The cost is missed opportunities, dulled joy, and a life lived on someone else's terms. The turning point is to make a conscious choice to say, I'm ready to learn how to listen to myself again. Rebuilding self-trust isn't a one-and-done deal. It's a practice, like strengthening a muscle that you haven't used in a while. It requires patience, but it's absolutely possible. Here's how you get started. Before you can trust your gut, you have to know what it sounds like. So you'll need to become a detective of your own inner world. As we said, anxiety is loud. It feels urgent, panicky, and often comes with a racing heart or a tight chest. It spins stories about the future, looping on what-if catastrophes. If a feeling is pushing you to avoid something or run away, it's probably anxiety. Intuition, or clairsentience, which is the gut feeling, on the other hand, is quiet. It often feels like a calm, neutral sense of clarity, a gentle nudge, not a frantic shove. It speaks in simple truths about the here and now. This person isn't for me, or pay attention here. Mine is often just a firm, determined, feel it in every fiber of my being, yes, or no, Sarah, no, this ain't it. A powerful tool for this is journaling, which is why I'm always recommending it to you. Get a notebook or open your notes app and make 2 columns, anxiety on one side and intuition on the other. Whenever you have a strong feeling, take a minute to dissect it. How does it feel in your body? Is the thought frantic or calm? Is it about the future or the present? Writing it down pulls you out of the feeling and turns you into an observer. That little bit of space brings clarity. Now, you wouldn't try to bench press 300 pounds on your first visit to the gym, so don't start by making a life-altering decision on a gut feeling. This takes practice. I had 20 years to hone my skills, so if you're just starting, you'll need to rebuild confidence with low-stakes experiments. Think of it as collecting data. This is chess, not checkers. It can be as simple as choosing which route to take to work, what to order at a restaurant, or which podcast to listen to. Tune in and ask yourself, what does my gut say? And go with the first answer without overthinking it. The key here is to log your results. Get a small notebook, I call it an intuition journal, write down the choice and the outcome. Had a feeling I should call my brother, did it, and found out he was having a rough day and really needed to talk. Or felt an urge to take the scenic route home and missed the traffic jam. One of mine from the other day, I was eating a new flavor of a snack that me and my sister both love, and I got the urge to text it to her to tell her to try it. She immediately texted back and was eating the exact same thing, just a different flavor, in the exact same moment. See what I mean? And I'll put a picture of it on the screen so you can see I'm not lying. Over time, the journal becomes your personal book of evidence. Your inner critic can't argue with a written record of your wins. You're systematically proving to yourself that your inner guidance is reliable. And remember to be decisive. Once you make a choice, own it. The goal here is to practice trusting yourself, so no wishy-washy shit. Another one of mine. In a relationship context, you can get so good at this that it'll work even through text. I would text my ex mid-workday just to say hi, see what he was doing. He would be all, I'm really busy, busting ass, blah, blah, blah. And something in me said that quiet, firm, no, something's not right. So I was headed to the bank. I drove by the local hole-in-the-wall bar, and wouldn't you know it, there his car was parked in the parking lot at 2 p.m. on a weekday. So I would text again to ask when he'd be home, and I would get, I don't know, I'm so busy at work. Such a fucking liar. Just such a fucking liar. Never brought it up. No big fight, just clocked it and kept moving. But I never doubted my intuition again. And never trusted a single word out of his mouth again. The thing is, you can't hear a whisper in a hurricane. If your nervous system is on high alert and your mind is racing, the subtle signal of your intuition will be completely drowned out. Create the internal quiet by listening to your gut feelings. What I'm saying is, drive by the bar to check, so it will ease your mind and quiet those thoughts, if that's what it takes for you to trust yourself. I can tell you, I have never regretted it. Or this is where practices like mindfulness or meditation become essential tools. Just sitting in silence and focusing on your breath for 5 minutes a day can start to lower the volume of your mental chatter. You're not trying to stop your thoughts. you're just learning to watch them float by without getting hooked. Spending time in nature is another powerful way to hit the reset button on your nervous system. Getting away from screens gives your analytical brain a much-needed rest. Movement, like a simple walk or yoga, helps release stored stress from the body. I know bullies. Your inner critic is a bully, and most bullies are cowards. They tend to back down when you finally stand up to them. This last step is about learning to talk back. First, you have to notice when the critic is speaking. That voice saying, "You're going to mess this up," or "You're not smart enough." That's it. That's your critic. The moment you catch it, name it. You can even give it a silly name like the Gremlin or Negative Nancy, whatever. This creates distance and reminds you that its voice is not your truth. Next, replace that voice with compassion. When the Gremlin says, "You made a mistake, you're such an idiot," a compassionate response sounds more like, "Okay, that didn't go quite as planned, but what can I learn from it? Everyone makes mistakes." Talk to yourself the way you would a friend that you actually care about. Finally, practice taking action while feeling uncomfortable. The inner critic wants to paralyze you with fear of failure. By taking one small step forward, even when you feel that fear, you prove to your brain that you can handle discomfort. When you act in spite of the critic's warnings and survive, you rob it of its power. You're rewriting the old program and installing a new one of confidence, of courage, and self-trust. So, friends, quit living a life out of sync with your own truth. Trusting your intuition isn't magic. It's a gift. It's a skill you rebuild, one choice at a time. It starts by learning the difference between the calm signal of intuition and the loud noise of anxiety. It grows by gathering evidence with small, everyday decisions. It's nurtured by creating inner quiet. And it's solidified when you finally learn to challenge your inner critic with compassion. You have an internal guidance system that is more powerful and more attuned to your path than any advice you will ever get from anyone. Your only job is to learn how to listen. If you learned something today, please like and subscribe. And until next time, friends, keep healing. See ya.